have you read the Time.com article yet?
Yes.
And speaking of media pieces, have you read the Time magazine article about the conspiracy to fortify the election? Their words, not mine. I've heard a fair amount of the thoughts on it, but I very much like to hear yours. And then a three-part, or came in 3 parts. I tried to give my all to Unity 2020, but I knew it was a long shot. Had I known that a collective of this magnitude was working against everything but the proper outcome, I would have applied a different tactic. If Time is saying this, then the Overton window has slid so far that if popular opinion no longer represents the reality that I see day to day, I pray that the left of center sees this and has the courage to say something. Oh, by the way, these donations are my birthday gift to myself this year. Please keep up the good work, Brett and Heather. Keep being a voice of the traditional, (, left. Godspeed. So I have not read this article. These all are referencing something that I have not read, but you have.
Yeah. Well, I will say I read it quickly, and I should probably go back through it. It was simultaneously jaw-dropping and maddening, and in another way, no news. So in a sense, I have the feeling that the important thing about it is what isn't in it, right? In other words, it describes an organized effort to do what they euphemistically call fortify the election, something like that.
Is that their language?
I think so. Anyway, we had a discussion about it, quite a good discussion about it on Clubhouse last night. And I thought that discussion went very well with an earlier discussion with Justin Amash about his experience in Congress, which is always revealing. He knows things about what's wrong with our Congress that most of us, even those of us who pay attention, don't know. And so anyway, this is a larger conversation that has to happen. But the basic point about the Time article was that the Time article admits to a kind of collusion that I think marches right up to the limits of what the law will allow. Maybe in one place it treads a bit. That's it.
Zach, you want to show this while Dad's talking?
So it describes this organized effort to make sure that, in light of what they expected to go wrong with Trump not ceding power, blah, 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 that they did all of these things, including changing election laws. Basically, they acknowledge a collusion in order to make sure, as they describe it, that the election turns out properly. But the point is actually what they describe is completely consistent with them going well beyond what the law allows and feeling justified in doing it. And most importantly, demonizing those of us who were skeptical of their motives and willingness to break rules, et cetera, et cetera. So, look, on the one hand, your system is completely corrupt. It just is. And this is not surprising. It's weird that the article exists. And, there's some question as to why the article exists. Does it exist to create smoke so that we don't see something much more frightening that may have happened? We don't know. All we know is that there's this article in which they say, yeah, we engaged in all this collusion to make the right thing happen in the election, right? So anyway, it's hard to know what to think about it. I do think one wants to think about it in the context of, okay, here's what's in the article. What isn't in the article? And what did you do to people who didn't believe that the election was just a straightforward exercise in democracy? And, do you owe them an apology, et cetera? But
well,
no.
They're all domestic terrorists, aren't they?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure what to say about it.
Yeah.
Yes, these people suck, and they have corrupted your system, and they own both parties, and you should expect them to do anything that they can get away with, and it's long overdue that we hold them to account and rescue our system from their absolutely diabolical sense that they know what's right and wrong, and that democracy would be too dangerous to allow, or something like that.
I'll Fight You Naked says that the Time article proves the election was rigged.
Oh, goodness. Does it prove the election was rigged?
I mean, not to go all Clintonian, but I guess it depends on what your definition of rigged is.
This is why this is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
They're all fucking rigged. They're all rigged.
Right. And this is a point you've made here.
I've made it many times. If they're not rigged in the general election, they're rigged in the primaries. Every single fucking one. They don't want to risk democracy. They fear it. Right. So this one was weird. Right. And this article is strange. But, to say the election was rigged leaves the implication that the outcome, that the number of votes that Biden won and the implication in the Electoral College was inaccurate enough to change the outcome. We do not know that. What we know is that there was an organized effort to play some game at the same time we were being told there was no game. But how could anybody believe that there was no game? Right? There was a game from the beginning. There was an attempt to remove Trump from office from the moment he took office. It was ongoing, right? There was an impeachment. Did he abuse power enough to be impeached? Yeah, I think so. But they didn't care, clearly.
Yeah.
Right? They wanted to impeach him because it was the thing it was the red meat that they needed to throw to their constituents, and it was the narrative they needed to feed. So, I'm having this weird experience with this thing, which is like, okay, a lot of people were impressed with this article. Maybe it's super impressive and I'm the only person who doesn't get it. But, yes, the system is rigged. The whole thing is rigged. Was the election rigged?
Well, isn't the impressive, I haven't read it, but isn't the impressive thing about the article that it's published in Time magazine? Just like we started off the first 2 hours today by saying, hey, Matt Ridley and Alina Chan actually got into the Telegraph, and then there's one in the Washington Post, and like this is actually hitting some mainstream places such that more people are going to read it and go, I wonder what that means.
So first of all, those are two opposite things, because this article is triumphalist. The Time magazine article is like, hey, look at all this cool stuff we did to fortify the election, blah, 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 blah. It's proud, right? It's not the high quality.
Okay. So I don't know that.
Yeah, no, it's that, which, yes, it's freaking alarming. But I don't know what to do with the fact that I'm not having the same reaction as other people.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You often, to things that you experience, don't have the same reaction as other people, and then you think and you think and you think on it, and often that is where the insight happens. So I'm not saying it's going to happen right here. Like that's not how it happens. But you being thrown by not having the same reaction to this article as what appears to be the reaction a lot of other people are having. I would caution you that the tenor of questions doesn't necessarily tell you what people are thinking, and maybe you've had other conversations, maybe you've seen other stuff online, but that it's exactly when there's a mismatch between what the world seems to be perceiving and you specifically go in and say, I am not in any way interpreting this the way everyone else seems to be. There's something to be seen here. There's something to be discovered.
Yep, could be. And no doubt in discussing it, hopefully I will advance the ball by pushing other people who are having the other reaction in some ways that they wouldn't be pushed, and vice versa. But I would just say, okay, that article taken in isolation, alarming. Mm-hmm. In a week, and I did find during our break, I did find the article. It was a different article in which the New York Times proposed a reality czar. But, it was right there in black and white in the New York Times, right? And they're like, honestly, their point is, we know that sounds bad, but hear us out. And it's like,
I had a conversation with a friend this week, and she said, I just feel every day like asking, are you punking us? Like, seriously, are you punking us right now?
Look, I'm not saying there's any evidence for this, but this kind of derangement of society over issues this simple, right? Is somebody doing this to us? It's a fair question, right? Because it's hard to imagine how you could get this dumb on your own, right? Honestly, a reality czar, like that's the thing. We're going to shut down chat because people might say things that aren't true. Those two things in the same, week, the same week in which we're talking about the idea that merit is racist and therefore we should find some other thing to,
And for the first time in a year, the people who are supposed to be leading the charge in the biggest pandemic in living history are saying, well, maybe that thing that we were mocking all year is possible. Sure.
right. Exactly.
Maybe.
The whole thing is so off the rails that, it is some kind of a collective psychotic break that we haven't figured out how to grapple with. But as far as I'm concerned, the whole thing, this is reason decohering, and it does not surprise me in the slightest that that, as I said before, everything up to the limit of the law was done and probably beyond. And what isn't in that article? That's what I want to know.
I guess I have to read it.